Hi, welcome back to West Coast Geeks. I'm your host, Joaquin. How we doing, people? Today's video is why Wizards, or Hasbro, but mostly Wizards, should bring back Dragon Magazine. Now, I know most print publications are dead, and you have a lot of third party who make some version of their own Dragon Magazine, but you still could do a digital issue. You could include it in part of the subscription. Just don't raise it extra $10 like I know these greedy bastards would do. But, the subscription's like, I think the master tier's like $4.99 or $5.99. A couple of dollars more, $2 or $3, and you get a digital Dragon magazine. I think I would end up paying for that just because it has a long history of having such great articles, and I love the cover arts always have. In fact, these two Dragon magazines have survived with me since I've been playing. Now, I always didn't buy Dragon magazines. It just wasn't my thing, which is kind of sad when I look back on that because there were a lot of great articles I missed out on, and what I the ones that I did buy, if I saw something that really piqued my eye. I bought this one, no joke, just for the cover, and then um, it had an article all about thieves, and a couple of my player characters were either a thief or like multi-class into a thief, and at one point they were going to form their own guild. So I was like, oh, okay, this is some cool information about thieves. And then the other magazine, which is this one really caught my eye, the second edition preview. Now, I do want to do some videos on these two different magazines, and I'm waiting for Eric, which will take forever, to do some of the articles out of the Best of Dragon, which I have 3 of them, but I'm only going to show you 2 right here. Let me show you what the previews were. Just give me one moment. They're like, Joaquin, you are taking forever. So, what they ended up doing was kind of going over section by section, like why do a second edition? And these questions are still relevant. I mean, a lot of people didn't think that 5th edition should evolve into 5.5, or in my case, 6th edition. And who decides there should be a second edition of the game? Like, these are really cool article. And when did it begin? They talk about the biggest changes. On this page, has some of the old school art. They talk about the warriors. They talk about, this is a chance where you got to specialize in a class, which I thought was cool. They have combat changes, spell system changes. And then they have shifting gears. Why is second edition? What is the second edition going to do my campaign? What about assassins? You got rid of assassins. So what am I supposed to do with my Assassin's Guild? And the answer was pretty much like anybody can be an assassin. You don't need a character class to be an assassin. Some of my player characters with classes that have changed or disappeared, and they just basically were saying, like, if you want to continue, the rules are there, keep playing. All this sounds like a lot of work. What about my old rules? What about models and accessories? So all these topics were covered, when they jumped from first, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons to second edition. And so I was hyped. I could not wait to get into this magazine. The other thing I liked about Dragon Magazine is that they had other games in there too. And so other features were This Means War. If a 327 batters fought 297 androids and a mutant squirrel in a tank, who would win? Different games. The Well-Educated Spy. Do you know how to role play a spy? This book tells all. So there were, some cool ads in there, which they probably could kind of do to help offset some of the costs, let some other people advertise in there. The Gamer's Handbook of the Marvel Universe. I still love playing that game. If I could, I would go back and play a few games. It gave you a preview section, usually was coming out. And then I think they gave you a poster in this book. No. All right. And there are other games that they feature. Now, I don't know if they would really do that. I think they'd probably want to keep it in-house. But they have a lot of worlds that they can go to and go back to. For instance, the biggest one would be Spelljammers, and putting in a ship combat system like the game was originally intended. The game was not supposed to be, I get in the ship and go to another planet, and the ship just automatically goes there, and we don't have to worry about air or survival. And I think that's one of the biggest complaints about 5th and 6th edition D&D is that they made it more of a video game in the sense of you don't have to eat, you don't really have to rest, you don't have to survive harsh conditions most of the time, and the combat, because they've added so much hit points to the characters and abilities, they've had to add more hit points to the monsters. And so some of these combats could just be dragged out because the DM is forced to include more monsters to give the player characters a challenge once they're past 3rd level. Now, I've never had a problem with that. You can ask any of my players. I mean, I come close to killing them every game, whether I'm trying to or not, just to put a little tension. I think that's one of the reasons why they enjoy my game. It's not boring in the sense of, oh, we just faced 50 kobolds. I only had to use up 1 potion of healing and 2 spell slots. You don't want those type of combats. They're boring. Now, if they had to face 50 kobolds and you did it in waves, and you don't let the party rest or short rest, and they're throwing, alchemists, acid bombs or green slime, or a magic missile is constantly, from one of the spellcasters who's hiding, is constantly hitting a cleric or a mage with a concentration spell. Those are ways you can prove your combat, but that's for a different video. But those type of articles is what we need right now. We need more articles to talk about who are the famous NPCs, whether you're going to do it in Forgotten Realms. I'd pretty much leave Greyhawk alone. They've already done enough damage. Maybe I shouldn't have put it quite so harsh, but it's a couple of little nitpicks that they did, like taking away the orcs and the drows. And I've just told other players, or I talk to other DMs, I go, all these changes right here, this is just Forgotten Realms. I mean, all you're doing is just implementing the rules and just adding it to Greyhawk. I mean, you have 5th edition books, you have the half-elves and the half-orcs. Just let those stand. What got me into reading some Dragon magazines were actually the best of. And I still go back and look through these articles. Finishing the Races, the Dwarven Ports of View. Like, these are all the gods, and these are like helpful articles into world building your world. Breathing life into dragons. Evil dragons make good armor. I mean, all these articles are still useful in D&D, and that's what I love about D&D, is that it doesn't matter what editions you have, you can always upgrade or take the 5th edition, put it in the first, and vice versa. Playing with classes, the thief, a special look, the druid, and the DM. It's not easy being good. He's got a lot to kick about. They really improved the monk on this. Now in 6th edition, the monk is finally got his due, which I love. Singing a new tune for the bard, cantrips, minor magic, creating new challenges, the wing folk, the alchemist, and the archer. And so while Unearthly Arcana covers some of this, they don't give like background articles. And that's what I miss. Go through the Best of Dragon, number 4. That was number 3. It's appropriate they put a silver dragon there. This is one of my favorites just because of all the DM articles you had in here. It takes all kinds. They talk about a bandit, a bounty hunter, death master, duelist, jester, scribe. They even have for a smith, for those players, I guess who want to play a smith. But these were all NPC characters, and they just kind of fleshed them out. But these articles right here, players' perspectives, are the ones that I always try to bring in. Beware, take care, that it's a material world where your weapons are going to break if they're not magical. It's a material world, talking about spell components. And while I never really use spell components for casting spells, and I'm glad they pretty much have gotten rid of most of that with spell focuses, I always enforce the materials if you wanted to write a scroll or make a magical item or a potion. Two-fisted fighting, the whole half ogre. That's an interesting character. Basically, in 6th edition, you have the Goliath. Riding hides is aerial combat. Creative campaigns, the 5 keys to success. A PC and his money. The care of castles. Saintly standards. These are the breaks. Beware, repair or beware. Wounds and Weeds, Runes and Rune Stones by Ed Greenwood. For those of you who are a Greenwood fan, he actually did a few of the articles in here. As the Jester, the Scribe, the Smith, and Rune Stones. So a lot of great articles, and I really wish they would bring this back. There's no reason why they can't. There's no reason why they can't make additional encounters in other areas. Like you have, what's that? The Stormwreck Isle, right? With that starter set. That would be a great time to introduce an article and flesh out the surrounding areas instead of just keeping it this little small area. I know as a DM, they encourage you, well, that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, but not everybody's that creative, and I'm an artist. So I feel like I have a better edge than most people, unless you're like a writer. And it's not to say that unless you're a writer or an artist or an actor or something that of those natures, that you can't be creative. But I'm just saying that it comes, in some cases, it's just natural or it's just easier. But it is something you can learn to do. It's like improvising. As you can tell, most of my videos are not even scripted. I have a general idea of what I want to say, and I look up a few things, and I just have little bullet points in my mind, or I write them down, and then I think about them, and then I make a video. So with that, people, I hope you guys are going to have a good weekend, and get in some games, whatever RPG games you enjoy playing. And leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your opinion on should they bring back Dragon Magazine in a digital form. And how much would you pay for an added subscription? Or most of you would say it shouldn't be. It should just be for free. But that ain't going to happen. So with that, people, take care.